to another late night episode of The Cat and the Mat.
Do you enjoy doing these more in the evening, Matt? Are you like a nighttime, night owl, nightlife kind of guy?
Yeah, I mean, it is more enjoyable than waking up early and doing it by myself. So it's always good to have company.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
You know, I don't always want to do it by myself, Cat. Obviously,
Well,
for obvious reasons. Yeah,
but you don't have to coordinate with other people. It's kind of nice in a way.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. You can do it the way you want it to be done.
Yeah, I can do it as somber or aggressively as I want. Yeah.
Yes, you can. Without any kind of high-tech assistance.
And I don't need other people's consent. Yes, that's true too.
Well, I mean, I never thought I hope you. Anyway, yeah. Welcome everybody.
Whoa,
Yeah,
wow.
I just woke up to it from a nap, and this is the kind of stuff that I woke up to. So,
yeah, good times, huh?
Very good times. Especially the last few weeks, it's been wonderful, hasn't it?
Yeah, everybody wakes up in the morning with zero anxiety. You know, it's probably the happiest moments of everybody's lives right now when they wake up in the morning.
Yeah, it's only Tuesday, right? So we got you got the FOMC meeting tomorrow. Or I guess it's happening right now, but Powell's gonna talk again tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe boost the market. Maybe, who knows? Yeah.
Question mark. Yeah. I don't know, the way that the yields have been dropping like nonstop for a few weeks kind of tell the story, but you know.
Yeah, and we can look at this DXY stuff actually first, because I was looking at it today, and like this monthly chart is looking like it kind of wants to go lower, you know? This DXY chart right here. It kind of does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's back inside the monthly cloud. It's basically going back below some important levels, and it was a big rejection in that 109 110 zone again, and another lower high. So lots of things, like inflation's going down, DXY is going down. A lot of things are showing things like equities and crypto should be going up, but currently that is not happening.
Yeah, I don't know which one is right. I don't know whether or not the price action for risk assets are are actually telling us whether or not the other macro stuff we're looking at, just like what you're saying with the DXY, what's real, what's not, right? Like it seems like they're just kind of going two different directions here. So
yeah.
Well. I actually think that it's kind of interesting too. You remember like the M2 global liquidity index that was, that you actually like showed me an indicator many months ago, and we're always talking about the back test and the breakout, right? And if you want to zoom over to May, so you see like the DXY is up here on the top, and you can see the M2 global liquidity index at the bottom, right? I basically just showing the resistance zone over here. Breakout, back test, and go higher. Resistance zone, breakout, back test, go higher. Resistance zone, breakout, back test, go higher, right? Every single time when you have a back test, that's kind of like the local top of the DXY, kind of like over here. Like you can see that back in around December of 2016. Back test of the M2 global liquidity index, top of the US dollar, right? And then I think since then you have a pretty big rally on the stock market all the way up until like 2018. Same thing, March 2020, US dollar, DXY peaked, and that was like the back test. It's like almost perfectly at the spot. And then so far, what do we have here? Everybody's talking about the dollar going higher, right? That was back in January. And everybody's super scared. Like, what about the dollar? What about the dollar? Well, it didn't matter anyway, because right, we had a back test over here, perfect back test, and the US dollar peaked right there, just like it did over here, just like it did over here. And the dollar went down, and the market went down anyway. So it's not, it's not exact science, but like something like this really does make me think that maybe the last couple of months, maybe just more like a fake out. but who knows?
Yeah, I think so too. And one thing about this DXY move too, I'll just show my my fib chart as well. That from the top, like linear scale wise, it just seems like every 15 to 20 years, there's like a monster move higher. Like there was one back in 2000, and then a big crash, and then 20 years later, there's another big move higher. But it's at like the one fib level below, right? It did a perfect 50% retrace from the high to the low. And then now we're at the 382. We couldn't quite get there. So it is consecutively going lower and lower over like a couple of decades. So I think if that trend continues, then we'll probably just go head back down this way, maybe back into the 90s over time. You know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's very reasonable. I mean, like you would imagine if you look at the monthly, like you have the cloud there as support, but no, it's piercing through it and it looks like it just wants to go lower. So
and even on log scale here, it was a perfect rejection of that 50% level right here, the 108. And it did get that liquidity up there and went above, and also did it again recently in February. But now it's looking like it's rejection time. It looks real to me. So I think everything that's showing inflation and the DXY is real, and the equities are just gonna lag behind maybe a giant move, perhaps even this month too.
You know, if you want to talk about macro, since you're a macro kind of guy,
such a macro guy.
You're a macro guy, not like me. I used to be a Microsoft cat, but
yeah, but now you're macro hard.
I don't know what I am anymore. The last
screw this Microsoft stuff. I'm macro hard.
Microsoft hasn't really been doing well either, but that's a different story for a different time.
that is true.
But I think the one thing that was pretty interesting to me is how Bitcoin has been really kind of tracking the Japanese market too, the Nikkei. If you let me see if I can line them up here as much as I can. I'm probably screwing it up. All right, without any indicator here, any indicator over here, you can see that they actually line up pretty well. If I can line them up here, that's the best I can do. You know, like I think the whole peak, the whole drop, the whole push up, the whole move up here around November to March here was the last really big leg up for Bitcoin, right? Ever since that, Bitcoin really hasn't been doing much. You do have a leg up higher to like the 6 digits here, but then we end up giving away. And you remember when everybody was like super scared about the Japanese yen carry trade with this big giant wick over here was also the bottom around like 49,000. And right now, I think the Nikkei is actually looking like it wants to do something here. There are a couple of things. One is if you look at the isolation here, look at the 20-month moving average. Looks like it's just testing 20-year pretty decently, right? And if you look at Ichimoku, he's still holding the conversion over here. It looks like it wants to break the arc over here. So if that's the case, I think that Bitcoin will also probably do very well. And I think it's just like maybe this is like the final piece of global liquidity that needs to be solved here. And I also like this GAN here too on the monthly because the GAN has shown me some pretty decent market symmetry here so far, right? Like this arc over here meant something, arc over here meant something, this arc over here meant something, back test the arc and went up to the next arc here. And as we push through the arc, we tested the bottom of the arc here, relatively speaking, and now we just have a hard time breaking through the top, right, for like the entire year. So maybe we're building up more energy, and also wonder whether or not the DXY has something to do with, let's see, JPY USD. I guess that's the pair, right? It looks maybe a little bit bottomy over here, you know. You look at the RSI is forming a lot of bullish diversions. It looks a little bit bottomy over here, you know, kind of like it did over here a little bit. Yeah, so I do wonder. And on top of that, you do have the Japanese market, global liquidity. Actually, they're the ones who are actually lagging the most. Let's see, I actually have the one. Yeah, they're actually the one that's lagging the most, actually, in terms of money printing. I think they have a hard time printing money because the US dollar is just so strong. you know, but like I wonder whether or not that's going to end up being reversed because, you know, we need them to print money. So
Oh yeah.
yeah. So I wonder whether or not that's the last piece of puzzle because you know the U.S. is printing money. You know China's printing money. Europe's been printing money for a long time because the DAX is like just going up like crazy. You know, like if you just look at the DAX, like what the heck is this? The German market.
It's like melting up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like melting up, right? So like yeah. Anyway, like the world's printing money. I think the last piece of puzzle maybe Japan, and nobody cares about
Yeah,
Japan market.
and economic indicators are not even that bad at people that pay attention to that stuff. So it's like, where's the disconnect here? And it just
Yeah.
feels very, very manipulative. And I think there is a potential to recover pretty nicely for an end of month rally. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, 10-year has been dropping nonstop for like 2 or 3 months now, and I think everything is pretty much overextended. I know you were going to show the indexes and you're going to show like the monthly chart. You want to go ahead and do that for like SPY, QQQ, IWM, all that.
Yeah,
I think
I
we're
can do
seeing
that.
the same thing. So, yeah,
Yes, I actually did this on my Patreon tonight too. That I was just showing how monthly charts, when you just zoom out here, they look like they want to hold support. And this conversion line is at 561.75 on a monthly chart. And this 1.618 here is at the same thing, 561.48. And where did price hang around basically all day today? Right around 561. So this really has potential to hold. It also has potential to maybe even rally towards the end of the month and be a lot more bullish. Even the QQQ as well, it's looking kind of similar, that it's a little bit deeper underneath the conversion line right here, the 482.13, but it's holding this 1.414 right here, which is 472.65, and it actually wicked through there perfectly today again, and it held. So perhaps if that continues to hold, then maybe the end of the month could rally back above that conversion line and maybe even closer to this 1.618 up top too, which would actually eliminate a lot of damage and could make big tech stuff really, really more bullish as well. But my favorite one right now is actually the IWM, because the monthly support, it's just right there. It's right on the 203, and like everything is really happening around 203 too. You got the baseline at 203, you got the 50% fib around 203, and just like a huge like demand zone, I think, right here, where it was like a previous support zone, then kind of a resistance, then basically a lot of support and resistance before the breakout. So it's a break. It's basically returning to where price was before this massive breakout. So that all happened around 203. So I think this really has potential to also finish the month out strong. So when you look at the monthly chart, nothing seems that detrimental right now. It seems like price of almost everything can recover pretty nicely.
yeah, and I think that people feel very different because most investors and traders, they only remember what happened over the last 3 or 4 months, and they don't think like longer than that. When we're looking at things to actually incorporate for like 9 months, 26 months, you know, like all these Ishimoku, all these stuff, they actually take a look at like a lot higher time frame trend. And if you look at just the IWM chart, just looking at that right now, you don't even need any indicators. It just looks like a big giant cup, and this is like a handle for it, you know?
Yeah, you don't need anything at all.
Yeah, we don't even we had like a whole year of rally. It didn't really feel like that because all these wicks, you know, back in like August and September, we had a whole year of rally from late 2023 all the way to late 2024, and we haven't even really had like a higher low, right?
Yeah.
So I think this could be the kind of like the higher low that we're looking for. And
The very first one, basically. Yeah.
and then people already just been like dogging IWM, even though it's been rally all the way from like 160 all the way to like 240, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things pointing to maybe most of the pain is over with. Like, even when you go to some of the stocks like Microsoft, that's pretty weak. I think that one still even has a potential to go back above some support as well, too. So, some things that look pretty dire actually could recover quite nicely if there is a rally at the end of the month.
yeah. Speaking of dire, you want to talk about Tesla?
Dire.
It's still like the least thing that I'm worried about, to be honest. Like it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Like this Gann chart that I have here, this is a monthly chart, and I actually like this one the most recently because it kind of told the story that it was going to go back down here, even though I ignored that because I saw it when it was like right up here in the 360s. Like, there's no way it's going to go down there. There's no way it's going to do that, and sure enough, it did. And here we are. But we can go back in time and look at this angle. How many months have wicked below it. Even were times that it closed below it, but during this time it went back down to the arc and just retested that to finally get that liquidity to go higher back in 2019. But even going back down where this arrow is too, right? We can see that right there. That used to be a previous support, and then it closed a few months underneath it. Then it just took off. So we're basically at the same inflection point, in my opinion, where now we have the potential to actually start to maybe stabilize here. And even after hours, I guess there was some robo-taxi news or whatever that didn't really do anything to price. But essentially, what I'm focused on the most is the 50-month moving average right there and that arc. And you know what? It's at the exact same price, or at 250, right? It's at the exact same price there. So I think it's still possible to close the month of March above that arc where it was a resistance here, here, and here. And not only that, my linear scale Gann also told the story too, which I kind of ignored as well. Once it broke below the 358, right here, I don't know why it's taking so long. Stupid trading view.
Yeah, it does sometimes. There you go.
Yeah, let me just take off these indicators. But yeah, this told the story too. Right? It went up, and I actually did on my weekly update when I was up here. I'm like, yeah, be cautious at resistance up here, guys. I did a weekly update video about it. And sure enough, that was a good time to be cautious, and it went straight down to the 358. And once it confirmed it as resistance right there, that should have been a warning sign that this becomes possible. And sure enough, that became possible. And even last week, it wicked below and closed the week back above that arc. And that arc right there is a previous resistance, and it's looking like it's trying to flip to a support. So, I mean, there's a lot of things on linear scale and log scale that are showing that market symmetry might be the most important thing for Tesla, and all the moving averages, all the Fibonacci things does not really even matter whatsoever, because it's going to do what it's going to do, but it kind of always respects the symmetry. And just looking at these angles and arcs and everything, it seems to be accurate. So do I think it can recover by end of March? I think it can. And I think 250 might be the target for that recovery.
Yeah. It's a pretty vicious downtrend. I think a lot of people are used to it being so vicious now. It's a lot of people end up selling out after riding down for the last couple weeks, you know.
Yeah.
I think capitulation is happening. We can see it on like live comments on X. It's just pretty brutal. A couple of things to if you want to like push over to me here for a second. Yeah, I think I've shown this on X, where basically I'm starting to see a lot more similarities between this cycle and this whole cycle over here. I was wondering whether or not this, I'm going to turn off a lot of these other stuff here. Originally, I was wondering whether or not there are two scenarios I'm thinking of. You know, one scenario is that the Bollinger Band is expanding, price is very impulsive, is expanding the Bollinger Band, and the trending moving average is, you know, going up. You know, that's usually what happened during the beginning of like a pretty decent bull market, right? Kind of like it did over here. There's a second scenario I was wondering whether or not it could be like a lame duck kind of bull market, which was very similar to here back in 2017. You know, you had a little bit of a mini bull market here, but you just end up kind of like giving all away and end up just testing the bottom of the zone over here, right? So from what I'm kind of seeing, I actually see that it might be pushing this little mini bull market and bear market all into like a few months. The way I see it is because if you just look at Ichimoku, I think like it just basically make this whole big giant move over here for like 2.5 years into like a few months. That's kind of what it looks like to me, because it's incredible how it pushed above this trend line, him back tested until all the way back in like May of 2019. Back tested, next thing you know, we go a lot higher, right? Same thing here. We broke through this trend line. I mean, technically, you can say maybe that was the back test over there, but no, it decided to actually go up a lot higher and come back and do like a proper back test. Even coincidentally, also back test the monthly Ichimoku cloud here too, right? So there's a lot of kind of similarities between these two areas that I don't think is really that coincidental. The issue is that Tesla it's just whenever it goes up, it can really, how do you say that? It can really just break a lot of people's imagination and just go a lot higher. Like this big giant move over here from the 140s all the way to like 280s happened within like 8 months. I mean, or 8 or 9 months, happened in a hurry. Changing sentiment here in a hurry. A lot of folks are thinking that we're completely out of the woods up here. And a lot of people are wondering whether or not we should buy up here. And I was like, no. As price came back down to some of the support levels, maybe for like 300, I was like, okay, time to scale in here. 270s, time to scale in. 250s, time to scale in. And then like next thing you know, it's just defying a lot of support levels, just like how it's defying a lot of resistance levels like about. Right?
But that 20-month is also right around 250 as well. So
it is, yeah. So there are a lot of if you, again, like technical analysis is not an exact science. It's going to be more probabilistic than it is deterministic, right? Because if we know everything is going to happen, like we would have been in calls, and we would have been like billionaires and whatnot. I think it's important to look at the higher time frame trend, because it doesn't matter how low it goes. It's the very same thing with IWM, right? Where you have a big giant push up for almost like 9 months. And I guess suppose this is like higher highs and higher low kind of thing, but it never really had like a big like higher low like it did over here. During a big giant bull market like these guys over here, generally you have like some pretty important higher lows. I think this is like the first real higher low that we're really experiencing, and the higher low is extremely brutal. It's been very, 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 very difficult for a lot of people, because it's just been absolutely vicious. But it's still within logic. I mean, you can say, yeah, in hindsight, oh yeah, you can say that it's of course it's in the Ichimoku cloud. Like, we didn't think it had to come back and backtest the Ichimoku cloud on the monthly. We just didn't think it had to do that. Is it logical for it to do that? Sure. It didn't over here during this bull market, even though the economy completely shut down, right? Back in COVID, right? It didn't even do that. So whatever they're doing right now is actually pretty manipulative to the upside and to the downside. Like, this up move is probably very unhealthy, and this down move over here is also probably very unhealthy, but that's Tesla for you. It looks like it's just going to keep rolling over, and it doesn't. Keeps rolling over, and it doesn't. Keeps rolling over, and it doesn't. It just keeps on going up higher over time, right? Keeps rolling over, and it doesn't. Keeps rolling over, and it doesn't. It does a very good job trying to get you to capitulate. It does a very good job to try to buy you the hype, to get you to buy the hype. It's yeah, that problem is most people only remember what happened over the last 3 or 4 months. That's the issue, and Tesla does a very, very good job throwing you off because of that. So
yeah, it sure does.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say beyond that.
Well,
I mean, I think it's been pretty brutal. So.
And it doesn't matter says, so when this falls to 175, can you address what the reason will be? Well, the reason would be that there's more support down there.
I thought doesn't matter. It's not going to talk to us anymore.
Yeah,
like,
I thought he capitulated.
Like, we're not going to talk to you anymore. I'm like, oh, I thought you left me. Anyway, it's
yeah. No, but honestly, these series of higher lows could go on forever and ever and ever, because on a monthly time frame, there is still lots of support below, technically speaking, right? But market symmetry wise, there really isn't. There is just the support where it's kind of at now. Maybe the 213 touched the monthly cloud, the bottom of the monthly cloud. I think that's it. But I don't really see a need to go below 200. I don't see a need. I mean, I said that about 300 as well. I don't see a need to go below it and all that stuff too. But again, Tesla does like to do and cut through Fibonacci levels, cut through moving averages, cut through Ichimoku baseline conversion line all the time, very, very easily on the upside and downside. But nobody complains when it happens when it goes up. They only complain when it happens when it goes down. So it's a little bit of a bias there. But when you look at it just objectively without a bias, there's really nothing wrong on the high time frame with that chart. There's really nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah, and then somebody was asking about like global liquidity. How come global liquidity is going up and then Tesla's going down? It happens all the time. I think it's like one of those shakeout kind of moves. You see how the move down here in Tesla was on global liquidity going up. You know, same thing during the COVID drop over here. Same thing during this like shakeout over here. It just does that. Same thing during this like shakeout over here. Same thing during this shakeout over here. Global liquidity is going up, but you experiencing a divergence. It basically just tells you that, hey, money should push the price, stock price up higher, but sometimes there's a lag, and the lag can be like 1, 2, 3, or 4 months. That's what we call divergence. And you know, if a lot of traders looking for divergences with volume imbalances, with like momentum, and you can look at it with global liquidity too. And certainly looks like there's a little bit of divergence here. So you know, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it just keeps on having a divergence, and we all divergence, you know, and then we just never recover. You know, this move here is just diabolical. Like you have like a hammer bottom, and then you just have filling the entire wick right here. I think a lot of people get really, really pissed at this.
But it could be a tweezer bottom. That could be even better.
It could be.
You know,
it could be because it's like way lower below like the weekly Bollinger Band here. It sucks. Like sometimes when it breaks the 20-week moving average, it's just sometimes they just gravitate down here to a low Bollinger Band, right? It doesn't always have to touch it. Like here, it doesn't really touch it, right? But sometimes when it breaks, it just kind of gravitates. Here, it doesn't really touch it, right? But sometimes it just does that, you know. And I think it did it this time. It's trying to do a very, very good job at it this time. It could still be like a trees bottom, and this could still be just a little bit of wick underneath the low Bollinger Band here, which I still think that is entirely possible because it's stretched way too far here on the upside, and now it's stretched way too far here on the downside, right? I see very, very similar look over here than we did over here. I mean, that's basically kind of how I look at it. But yeah. But yeah, go ahead.
No, there's a question about, does the money chart take into account that China changed their way they report? Do you know?
I think it's based on M2. I think the way they report was based on M1. Like that's what they changed. So I don't think that the change in M1 is going to change that global liquidity. You see the M2 here. This is a China M2. It's just, it looks pretty normally healthy on the way up. Like there's
the M1 is just like skyrocketing.
Yeah, the M1 is the one that was just like the way they reported. Right. Yeah. But although it does feel like the Chinese market is responding to the M1, but you know, but M2 is also kind of going up and skyrocketing too. So I don't think that the new reporting method changes it. So
yeah. Well, my final thoughts with Tesla, essentially, to answer doesn't matter's question, where do I see it settling? I honestly, I had this chart when it was up here, right? I had this chart created when price was at this upper arc, and I was like, you know, there's no way it's going back down here, and that's what I told myself. But it did. It ended up going down there. So I think, where is it going to settle? I think where the trend has been on this angle. Whether sometimes you can see weekly candles. This was during earnings, right? Earnings, it went below, then that was just a liquidity grab, and then boom, it recovered nicely. So it could do something like that, but I think it's going to start to recover inside the arc here and above this angle in the months to come. That's what I think. So I think probably stability above 250 is going to happen, making its way back towards 275, 295, 300. That's what I think is going to happen. But it could take some time, right? But one step at a time. Get back on top of this 250 zone, get back on top of this previous resistance here, and flip it back to a support. So I trust the market symmetry more than I trust the fibs or everything else with Tesla, because Tesla is a wild one. And I think market makers know that people get emotionally involved in this and they can't handle it. And they always make it break levels all the time. And just to fake people out and recover nicely. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, pretty vicious downtrend for how many weeks in a row now? Like 8 weeks in a row. I mean, I'm feeling tired. I don't know about you, but
yeah, very exhausting.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I think there's very little doubt the capitulation has already happened. It can always go down a little bit lower on low volume, but I think the majority of the people who want to get out probably have already gotten out. So, but who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, and
200 is the next zone.
Yeah, 200. No, it's 190. No, it's going back to 140. No, it's going back to 103, 101. No, there. Wait, you said 69 before. That's almost the blue level, 61. So, yeah, there it is. That's
Yeah,
where it's going.
yeah. I got a big giant arrow drawn pointing down to 69. So.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I with like Elon Musk running like the United States of America, do you think that's is that why Tesla's crashing all the way down?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think what
Yeah.
we're seeing now is just some crazy stuff that we haven't seen in a long time. And it's something that could be an opportunity of a lifetime. But it's also, it should be a reminder for people to not concentrate on one stock, because then you'll miss other opportunities. Like with TIGR today, went up 20%, or like BABA, like that's been up a lot, right? If you just focus too much on one stock, you're going to miss out on other opportunities, because nobody wants all their eggs in one basket. Nobody likes that.
Yeah, I usually try to, and you guys see me posting kind of like the top 20 stock portfolio. I mean, they've all been going down the last 2 or 3 months, so it doesn't really matter. But you can see how it's and it's just been really vicious over the last couple of months. I feel it. So.
Yeah, but if you're investing for the longer term, for the bigger percentages, this is the kind of volatility that you have to deal with, right? Otherwise, you're just trying to time the market short term with Tesla, that is almost impossible, because when you think it's bottoming, it's like, psych, I'm not.
Yeah.
So doing that short term is really risky, especially with Tesla. But long term wealth building is dealing with this volatility and taking advantage of it by accumulation.
Yeah, I think the one thing that like strikes people to be weird is like we do charts, we look at charts all the time, and then people kind of look at it and say, oh, you're bullish, so maybe I should trade. Use like leverage instruments. Like that's not really our style at all.
Yeah, we never recommend trading leverage instruments. I mean, I do it. I trade Con-L. So does Cat. I do TSLL. I don't think Cat does, but it's your risk tolerance. If you can't handle Tesla by itself, then you should never do TSLL, right? So if Tesla itself makes you really emotional, then TSLL will just drive you crazy.
Yeah, and then another thing too, I think we do charts is actually more or less to actually calm nerves, if anything. Like if we see something and if it still makes sense, if the market structure hasn't been broken, then I feel comfortable like DCAing into it, right? Rather than trying to DCA into something that you just purely believe in the fundamentals. Like, can you imagine people DCAing into end phase without looking at a chart that's like a big giant downtrend? They've been, like, or can you be like, imagine people who are DCAing into like, I don't know, like Celsius or something like that, without realizing it's like big giant downtrend, the clouds like all the way down below. I think looking at a higher time frame helps you to build more conviction in terms of like which levels you want to start scaling and things like that. That's kind of how I look at it, but I think it's an important reminder to like trade or to invest based on your risk tolerance. Not really, financial advice, but that's just me like talking out loud. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, with that said, what else is what else is dire?
What else is dire? Everything.
I know what else is dire. I can show a chart that is dire.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is we're not gonna make it. And this is the kind of like the ET. Oh, I already have that drawn here. So this is kind of what I see for the most part. It kind of broke below this wedge over here that's been kind of upsloping here for a long time. This is the Valkyrie Bitcoin Miners ETF, and it's been pretty much severely underperforming Bitcoin. It's also broken down the wedge here too. You can feel it with a lot of different stocks that's been happening for the last few months, including like Cypher, including Iron, including Wolf, including a lot of the miners. It's extremely brutal, right? All of this happened. If I take out the wedge over here that I already broken out from, all this happened. It's like a big giant cup over here, and you have a big lick down, and it's going to the 0.618 here in the lock fib. So I think that there's a good chance that this level might hold because of that. And I think a lot of capitulation has already happened here, like for the last few weeks. I think we're just kind of, grabbing shares from people here on like declining volume here to exchange shares from people who don't want it anymore to people who want it. that's where I could put it that way. And then the entire time, like the whole ETF and the individual miners have also gone down, equal amount if not more too. Like this thing went down like 50%, right? But you also have to take into consideration that this thing went from like $4 all the way to 30, and it's correcting like a little bit more than 50%. So did we break some market structure? I just show you broke down underneath the wedge, right? And this is a little bit of like a lower low comparator over here, right? And yeah, the same thing's happening with another thing that's also looking pretty dire, which is Ethereum. I have these like angry phases. I don't know if you like saw on my X.
Oh yeah, I saw those.
Yeah, it's basically like it seems like Ethereum just does this. Like it breaks down underneath a little bit of like a wedge looking thing here, and then
but it usually recovers after a couple months though, and we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. Like, there's no guarantee. Technical analysis is always more. It's more probabilistic than anything. Nobody knows. We don't have any insider information. If we do, then we wouldn't be here. But it looks like very similar kind of look here, where you basically have like a little breakout and then you backtest here. Same thing here, breakout, backtest. It just keeps on doing that for like longer than you expect. If anything, I think the whole like crypto cycle actually is a little bit longer compared to before. It just seems like that to me, and like the same thing resonates when you look at the actual global liquidity too. It seems like the whole thing is just like a lot longer in terms of breaking out the resistance of the global liquidity and backtesting it. Because before over here is only maybe like a year and a half, and it just backtested, just ran. Here we spent like 2.5 years underneath this resistance zone. So I just think that this is like a longer cycle. And we might be experiencing some pretty brutal thing over here, kind of like we did over here, But maybe it's just a liquidity grab. If you're into elite wave thing, maybe this is like the one, or we're like 1, 2, 3 is going to come, and 3 is going to be like the more powerful wave. If you're into elite wave, this is 1 here, this is 2 here. You got everybody extremely frustrated, and then this is wave 3, 4 and 5. If you're into that kind of stuff. But yeah, I wish Tracker's here, man.
Yeah, he could help us out.
He can help us out, but that's kind of what I'm thinking here. Those are the dire things to look at. I'm not going to look at individual miners because I don't think it like I think the whole WGMI picture kind of paint the whole thing. It's at some pretty important support, and a lot of people that are pretty bullish on miners over the last year or two are like capitulating. So
yeah, almost everybody's like giving up on miners, and that's usually when things start their rally after retail sentiment is in the trash.
Yeah, even the Bitcoin miner mafia like group, that the engagement is like super low, and there's people just don't care anymore. I think that's kind of what it takes sometimes. So, but yeah, extremely brutal. You want to talk about Bitcoin? What do you think?
Yeah, I can go over some Bitcoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin.
But yes, Bitcoin. You love me some of that Bitcoin, yeah.
The next Bitcoin.
All right. So here's my Bitcoin chart. So looking at the weekly chart, it's officially stuck under this 1.272 fib right here, the 83,558. So because of this reason, I think a lot of people are calling for like the 70s or even 60s. And that orange level does sit right here at 72,000, guys. Just to let you know that it could backtest it, right? I'm not saying that it can't, because this is crypto. This is a volatile market. Anything is possible. So the orange level again right there, it is around 72,000. So if price wanted to gravitate there, then sure, why not? But in the meantime, we can determine other stuff first to see if it's more important than going back down there. And I keep looking at this monthly Ichimoku conversion line, and it keeps holding. So that 79,467 is stopping it multiple months in a row. And every time it goes down below, it quickly gets gobbled up and goes higher. So I cannot assume that it really wants to go break that just yet because of the buying power that approaches every time price gets down in that range. And with that said, we could even have a potential end of month rally that could even bring it back up above even this 45-degree angle there, where it was a previous resistance, and now it is kind of a resistance. It was trying to flip to a support, and that's around 87,600 or 800, 87,800 or so. But yeah, I can't really say it's going to go collapse just yet because there's really no loss of momentum on the monthly chart here with the 79,467. So I'm still thinking it can recover, and I'm waiting for this weekly candles at least to start closing back above this 83,558.
Very, very nice. You always go so quickly. I don't know.
Now you're not even ready. You're like, oh no, I was watching
Well,
something
I
on
mean,
my computer.
that's probably how Will Chamberlain did it. Like, there's no way that he would have done 20,000 number without going kind of quickly, like what you just did. You know.
So he's like a 2-pump chump or something, or what?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he did score like a 100-point game, right? I mean, like, you got to be fast. So
That is true. That is
yeah,
true.
yeah.
You don't get those kind of numbers by taking your sweet, sweet time.
That is true indeed. No, you want to flip it over to me? Jeez, like
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin. There's not much to talk about because it's literally been stuck in a range for a while.
I think the important thing is to look at like their higher time frames. So a lot of people call, like, there's like a indicator called a bull market support band. It's basically, it consists of the 20-week SMA, 21-week EMA. And this is kind of devised and named. I think there's like a guy named like Ben Cohen who talked about this a lot in terms of the Bitcoin bull market. Because you look at the 2015, 2017 bull market, it just keeps on serving as supports over and over again, like almost like 7 times. And it's like perfect support during the entire bull market, right? So the and it is even also a very, very good bear market resistance band here too, right? And it's also a very good bear market resistance band over here too, right? The only thing is, like, the 2020, 2021 bull market, it didn't really back test that very often. It only did it initially, and it just kind of ran all the way up. It basically is just like, like Will Chamberlain, it just burned all the load like early, and it just didn't have enough to kind of push up anymore. Like, I really think that this is like the market makers like, oh, we got a bunch of liquidity coming in, we got to push things up like a lot higher, faster, and then they just like, ugh, and that's kind of what happened this cycle. It didn't really use the 20 to go up. So far, the 20 has not really been that well respected, and I think there's I do think this is like a way to think that I think this cycle is actually not is actually slower, because instead of following the 20 is actually following the 50 pretty well. So the way I see it, or actually, if you look at I think the 40 actually, like, fits even better. I feel like this cycle actually is like almost like twice as long as like the previous one. You see how nicely the 40 is fitting, right? It's just a lot slower. Like, I don't know what else to say. This one is just a lot slower compared to the one before and the one before. And again, I'm going to keep going back to, I think global liquidity is just a lot slower this cycle. I do wonder whether or not that's the case. Because again, I keep drawing the same thing, and I keep sounding insane for doing it. But the ultimate thing is, like, the only thing that technical analysis really matters, we're not trying to just draw lines and sticks to say, oh, this works, because we drew it. Is because of a few things. Because number one, market symmetry, we can try to beat the algos based on that. The other one is based on, volume, based on, like what the big money's doing. which is what Danny does. He's just basically like witnessing what big money is doing. And what can you really tell from big money more than like global liquidity rising, right? Nothing else really. So as far as I'm concerned, I think this liquidity cycle is just a lot longer compared to the two previous cycles. And I'm feeling it. And I think a lot of people are feeling it. And the burn is just a lot slower burn. And whenever you have a correction, instead like this quick, like 1 month correction, which, most people probably can't even handle back then. Now you have like this like 3 to 6 month burn of like, of like a downtrend here. It just gets everybody freaked out, brings miners down, and the sentiment is not very good. That's kind of what this cycle has been doing. But I don't think the cycle is over yet. I mean, I think there's still probably a lot of juice to this cycle. I don't know how fast. I don't really necessarily think it's like 444,000 this year. Like that's not what I'm thinking. But at some point, I do think that this cycle is not different because global liquidity seems to be going up. I do think at some point, impulsive move is going to happen, and the bullish band is going to expand, kind of like the cycle before that, and the cycle before that. I still think that's the case, and there's nothing really telling me that that's not the case because it's still making higher highs and higher lows. If you also look at Ichimoku, just like where you're showing, it's holding the conversion line or the Tenkan here perfectly well, and that's what a bull market does. Just push up along with the Tenkan, kind of like here, even in like this parabolic bull trend or whatever, it respects the Tenkan here over and over again. Whenever it gets a little bit too far, it back tests it, right? It's just move a lot faster here during the 2015, 2017 compared to what we have over here. It's like, step. It's just extremely brutal. At some point, I do think we're probably going to end up hitting some escape velocity and go up higher. But a lot of people are calling for lower, so I guess we're going for lower. Yeah.
I mean, there's one thing that I keep on watching a lot, and that's the others chart all the time. And let me just go show my screen here.
Show your others.
And I talked about this, I think, last week as well. And this is the reason why I cannot be bearish on crypto at all. This is a monthly chart. This is the 50-month moving average. And look where it is, right? And look where it was right around COVID, too, back in 2020, right before it took off, right? And I made this comparison last time, too, right? Like this period of time right here. What the hell? Yeah, this period of time right here is kind of similar to, I hate my magnet sometimes. It's kind of similar to like right here, right? This period of time right here. And this period of time right here is kind of similar to this period of time right here. And then COVID time is basically right now. So it's basically an extended version of what happened back in 2019, 2020. Just an extended version. And now, instead of doing this in like a year or so, it's taken multiple years to do that from the bottom here. But anything that's maintaining a 50-month moving average and riding it as support for years is not really that bearish. And it looks like it could be about this stage, maybe in the months to come, right? Wouldn't that be something where everybody gives up right here, just like everybody gave up during COVID, and then boom, goes higher. So this is the one thing that I keep on monitoring, that the others chart does not want to break below that 50-month moving average. And every time it wicks below, it does reclaim it. And it looks like it really wants to accelerate to the upside after it shakes everybody out. So I cannot be too sad about this chart, regardless of what Ethereum is doing or anything is doing, because this is telling a story, I think, and the story is it's not over yet. It's not over.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why is holding that so well? Because it excludes Ethereum. No, anyway, that's. But look at the only reason. No, I'm just being weird.
And Solana, it excludes.
It excludes Solana too. But also look at the last 4 candles. They're all inside candles to that big giant, engulfing candle 5 months ago.
Yeah.
So this is all theoretically. This is all like a cooling down. And also, it's just going back into the Ichimoku cloud on the monthly here so far. Like, it's not, Yeah. Again, if you, the reason why it's holding Ichimoku is because it's excluding Ethereum. That's why. But
Yeah. Otherwise, it would just be, it would be down to probably to like 0 or something way down here. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. And I also think that this also supports the theory that the cycle is just slower. It's like
Yeah.
twice as slow.
Yeah.
You know.
But
Yeah.
it looks twice as slow, but it looks still identical than what we saw before here. Really,
Yeah.
really identical to what happened before, just multiple years instead of one.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
yeah,
until like IWM, the Russell 2000 breaks all-time highs, like I still think that this cycle is just slower. That's still my predominant theory. I know it's gonna get a lot of like the 4-year cyclist to be very, very much disagreeing, but I, you know, yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. So,
yeah. And I saw someone mention MSTR looks like it's ready to explode, and I was noticing that too actually this whole week, based off of MicroStrategy on the monthly chart, how it opened, and we can see that we can just take off everything else and put on the Ichimoku here, and it opened back above the baseline on the monthly chart, and it even wicked down below to the 245 again. But guess where it's still maintaining, even when Bitcoin is still not doing anything, it is still holding that baseline as support. And it lost it last month, but it gapped up to reclaim it this month, which is a very, very interesting development here. So I think if that baseline gets reclaimed by the end of this month for sure and closes above, then I think that could lead to some more upward pressure, even past the conversion line, maybe even back to the 340 and above. So something that was a little bit scary last month, this new monthly candle opened up perfectly early, like 18 days ago, above that baseline, and it has been spending a lot of time around that 280 zone. So yeah, I think it could be telling a story that maybe Bitcoin perhaps might be done going down, especially if this baseline continues to hold.
yeah, I think it's looking a very, very similar morphology as it was last time. Even though last time it was holding the conversion pretty well, but this time's holding the base. Yeah, I mean, if you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin's holding conversion. You know, I think this is just a little bit of deviation. When it went up, it was went up a lot faster. When it goes down, it just goes down a little bit more. But there's a pretty good supply or a pretty good demand zone underneath because all the wicks right there. Yeah, so I feel good about Bitcoin. I feel good about MicroStrategy. It's yeah, I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue. So
Yeah, and like when you look at this chart, even on the weekly chart, still this weekly, good God, am I so slow? This weekly chart, all it's doing is buying time to get closer to the cloud. That's all it's been doing the whole time, and also trying to find a higher low. And I think it actually has found it, because every time it wicks through 245 here,
yeah,
it gets eaten up and it shoots up. Right. Every time it goes through, buyers step in here, and it shoots the price up higher. So I cannot be too concerned right now with MicroStrategy, especially if it keeps holding 280. If it keeps holding 280, then that's great. And then once it gets back above my blue level of the GAN here, maybe 302 or something, then I think it could be a direct shot up to the 340s. But yeah, I think we are looking at something that is probably weeks, if not months away from, yeah, because that's about May to the getting to the cloud. So it could just be in this range until it's really ready to break higher. So yeah, I think people are a little bit overly bearish right now with everything, but ultimately, when you look at the monthly chart, I know some people hate looking at monthly charts, but when you look at them, they tell a really good story of this is not really the end of the cycle. And that's what I keep looking at. And I know Kat keeps looking at the same thing. And people on X are in disbelief, and they're actually angry with us, a lot of us, because how can this be bullish when things collapse so far? Well, that's because they skyrocketed way higher. When things get overextended like this, market makers can manipulate price much easier than they could if it's just a stable stock. So that's the answer to that question. So if you are confused, then maybe next time, never chase the highs. Try to buy before the breakout, which is kind of like right now, actually, right? Buying before the breakout was that 245.
Yeah, and I can't, stress enough. I think it's a pretty good look right now. I mean, nothing is a guarantee. You have all these wicks down below. Looks like this could be like a very nice, like a Trident type, like a tweezer Trident type bottom. But to each their own. Everybody has their own risk tolerance. There's no guarantee. I think I would put it maybe like 80% that I think my strategy is bottom over here. And so
What was that percent you were breaking
hold,
up?
if not buy, but I think it's maybe like 80%, confident that I think we're bottom there with like the 3 wicks down below.
I think so too. I'm gonna go 80. I'm gonna prices right you and go 81%.
Okay. I'm sorry, but can you say it again? I didn't hear it. No. Anyway.
Well, all right, now it's 85. Now it's 85.
At least you fix your mic. At least you fix your mic, because I remember when we first doing live stream or first doing videos together, like your mic was just absolutely horrible.
Well, I was in Bali. I was in Bali during that time, and I was going around to all the like computer shops there, and none of them had a good mic there. It was crazy. It was a bad time to start doing voice stuff on the internet.
Yeah, now you sound like you have a radio voice. I know like a lot of ladies have commented saying that you got a nice voice. I disagree, but
I got a radio voice and an actor face.
I don't know anymore because she like shaved and all that, but
no, I didn't shave. I didn't shave at all.
You didn't shave?
No, not yet. I cut my hair. There's no more man bun anymore.
That's cut your hair. That's what it was. Yeah, you don't have that Chuck Norris look to it anymore. Okay.
Yeah, no more.
Good. Yeah.
No more Chuck Norris.
Want to flip over to me and we'll look at Doge here real quick?
Doge. Is Doge going to zero or what? That's what I want to ask you.
I've been going to zero for like a decade now. I gotta say, like a lot of people are also making some really weird statements. Like, how can this be a bull market if Dogecoin dropped? How much did it drop? Like, I'm not very good at the price range here. How much did it drop? If Doge drops, like, how much was it? Like 70%? How can this be a bull market if something drops like 70%? It's a bear market, right? Well, I mean, it does that all the time. It dropped from here down. Crap! I hate this magnet too. Why did it do that? It dropped like 65% here before it made the big giant move up above, right? And over here too, if you see this little like nice little bull flag over here, can you imagine the peak over here all the way down to like the wick over here is like 67%, And can you imagine people like talking about even from here, from like the wick up here to down here is like 55%, right? So it's still a pretty normal correction for Doge, and I'm looking at it using log, so it doesn't look as bad. But yeah, it's pretty brutal. It went down like 70%, right? How can it still be a bull market? Well, it's because it's forming higher highs and higher lows. That's basically how you're supposed to look at crypto, The way I see it, and I pull up the weekly Ichimoku cloud here already. Again, this cycle is just a lot slower compared to the last one. You can already see like this is like a cup over here and it just went up real fast, right? This cup is just a lot bigger. It's forming, it's almost like a perfect, like a rounded bottom kind of thing. And it just keeps on forming these handles, even though they're extremely brutal. The last time when they have this downtrend over here, and I'm having on Binance, so the volume looks different at different exchanges, but you can see the same thing in like Coinbase or Kraken, whatever you want to, but nobody's really selling Dogecoin. It goes down on like no volume, and it basically just hits the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud over here, and it just bounced up, almost like it's very algorithmically driven, right? Same thing here. Drop down, big giant downtrend, no volume, hit the top of the Ichimoku cloud here, bounce pretty decently, right? Like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, you can't make up like how algorithmic these things are. Like, you just can't You just can't make that up, you know. Like somebody's watching these Ichimoku clouds. That's what's happening. But can we go down further? Initially, I thought that there's a possibility, like, you know, there's it because over here it hit the upper Bollinger Band and then eventually hit the lower Bollinger Band over here, right? Here it hit the upper Bollinger Band. I was wondering whether or not it's going to hit the lower Bollinger Band here to like 13 cents or something like that, which is still possible. But, you know, it doesn't always have to do that. Sometimes you just stop short of it like it did over here, you know. So I don't know what, you know, how long this thing's gonna have to go sideways. To me, it doesn't matter. The lower it goes on like no volume, the better risk reward ratio down here it is to buy. And I think if the cycle is really twice as long as the last cycle, then this over here might be a little bit exaggerated downward version of maybe this over here. You know, that's kind of what I'm seeing here. And the lower it goes, the better risk reward ratio is if we're going to end up having a little bit more push to make to all-time highs, which I think it still can because of global liquidity rising, because this downturn here is on like no volume here at all, because it's finding some pretty decent Ichimoku class support, because it's making higher highs and higher lows. On top of all that, it's holding the 20-month moving average still almost perfectly. So
you know what else is doing though?
What else is doing?
Look at my log GAN.
Looky.
Look at that.
Ooh. Oh, you just made that up just now. No.
No. No, I didn't. Yeah.
How long have you had this GAN?
For a long time.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it was a perfect wick there, just like it was a perfect resistance there, and that orange level was a magnet for price. So, I mean, I think it's completed, right? I would also say it's about 81% completed right there, just like MicroStrategy, before it's ready to go higher. And we put on that Ichimoku cloud as well. It still has some time to climb out of there. So we could see some impulse moves to the upside back to the 20s or whatever, and within weeks, perhaps within weeks, maybe months, but weeks. Yeah. I think we're closer to going higher in a lot of things than we are collapsing. That's what I think. And I think the risk reward is in the favor of the bulls right now and not the bears. So I am going to have my conviction, and it served me well in the past throughout the many years I've been doing this in stocks and crypto and whatever. So I'm gonna roll with it. So
I guess my only question looking at your chart is it going to $1 or is it going to $4?
Well, if you have like a really long arrow, that can really assist you in your decision making. So so we'll make it like really long, and it's going to 4. Yeah, there it is.
Will Chamberlain would have approved.
I got to make sure that it's thicker though. Or I got to make sure it's really thick and green, because when it's green, it's gonna happen. So there it is.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You know what rhymes with thick? You know, that's pretty. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. All right.
Saint Nick.
It's green, yay! Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
No, but I kind of can see at least like 120 here where the arc is, but I think 4 could be possible if there's something really explosive, like really. But if Doge goes to 4, the next XRP is probably going to 29.
Yeah, but if you look at the fib level too, from like cycle high and cycle low, the 1.618 log fib is right around $4 too, which is right around your GAN confluent level up there. So who knows?
Oh yeah, it is 1.618. No coincidences.
Yeah,
none.
Right. So could it stop short and maybe hit like the 1.236 or something like that?
I mean, that's where MicroStrategy went. It already went to the 1.618 on log scale. So it's not impossible.
Yeah. So speculation, Doge is going 0. It's
negative 0.
It's kind of how coincidental. It's kind of poetic that the like Elon Musk is running the United States government, and his stock is going to the crapper, and Dogecoin, which is basically what Doge is named after, is also going to the crapper, right? Kind of weird if you think about it. But yeah, still early. I actually think it's all of these things are probably premeditated. We just didn't really see through in terms of how bad they're gonna tank all this. We knew they're gonna tank it, we just didn't know how bad it was gonna be.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
surprised us all, but it gives me even stronger conviction that things are actually going to recover nicely, and I think it's going to recover end of this month.
yeah. You wanna talk about XRP?
Oh yeah, I mean we can't end a session without XRP. That is 1000% true because it's true. Oh wow, it's back at 230 now. Interesting.
Yeah,
So
it's pumping.
XRP, I think I lost my GAN on this one, but all I'm really paying attention to at XRP is this 225 still. Nothing else really matters. And then after that, once it gets to all-time highs, I think it can easily get up to at least $9. So this is going to be my minimum target still, and maybe $13. This range here, I could see that easily. And yeah, if Doge goes to $4, then we're looking at least a 26 to maybe $30 XRP, the 1.618 there too. Because if Doge can get to the 1.618, then XRP could too. So we'll see. But this is actually the most bullish chart in all of crypto right now still. And the reason why is because when you look at the weekly Ichimoku cloud here, it's still above the baseline. There's really no other crypto I can think of out there that's above the weekly baseline. None of them. Can you?
I'm looking. I'm looking.
Yeah.
I'm screening. Nope, 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 nope.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think
Nope.
there's any coin out there that's still above the weekly baseline.
Nope.
And it's been hitting it, nailing it for weeks in a row, 3 weeks to be exact. And most recently, the last week. So, you know what? Also, it's just spending more time on top of this 225 than it is below it, too. So I think that could be a sign that perhaps things do want to stabilize in this 225 zone and eventually continue higher. I mean, it is just buying time to get closer to the cloud as well. So it could just stay in this range for a while um, before we're ready to break out. But yeah, one of the most bullish charts out there. I cannot be bearish on it at all. Even if it did go back down to like the 786 again to retest that, I still would not be bearish. That is still a normal range. Even Doge went way lower than that too, and it's still bullish. So with that said, yeah, I mean, everything in my opinion looks very optimistic for the future in stocks, in crypto. And I think if people are patient, they can be rewarded. And a lot of lessons learned in this one, especially for a lot of people, don't chase after a violent move higher because things can correct with a vengeance.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's that about does it. Any other stocks or anything you want to anything that caught your interest or anything? Yeah.
I mean, just Tigger, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't chase it right now. I mean
Yeah,
the
I want to chase it now, but it's a breakout, right? It's breaking
yeah,
out, and it broke finally above all of these wicks right here too, above the baseline, above the 50%. So I think it's going to 1250. That's where I
yeah,
think it's going next. Like TIGR, and look what TIGR did, guys. Huge breakout. Look at all this time it bought to get closer to this little cloud here. Oh, and what do you know? Earnings are right here, and boom, higher. It's all the same way. And I can see
yeah,
so many charts doing that in the weeks to come. They get closer to the cloud, and then what do you know? They're just going to automatically explode for some catalyst. Some random news narrative is going to be out there. And you know what? Tesla is getting closer to his cloud too, so it might make a move higher than sooner than later as well. So watch that cloud. I mean, the best example of this was, in my opinion, ASTS. It
yep,
was it was just
yep,
hilarious to me. Like you can take off everything on this one and just look at it's just hilarious. This is just a huge breakout. Oh, I'm not going to do anything. Not going to do anything. Oh, the cloud. Boom.
yep.
Like what was the catalyst here? I don't even know what that catalyst was.
I don't know. It was going to space. I don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It
yeah,
was like literally right on the week of touching the cloud is when it decided to go higher. So I can see so many charts doing that.
Yeah, but be careful. I mean, this is not an absolute, because look at Affirm. Pull up Affirm here. I wanted to see like 2024. I thought the same thing was going to happen, but it didn't. I thought the same thing was.
Like right here, yeah,
like it broke down underneath the cloud and more.
But I think they probably saw a lot of liquidity down here, so that's why they just went down there. Yeah. But it didn't really change any. It didn't change anything, and actually, it might have needed to go there because it was of the previous like high zone there too, retesting that.
True.
So it kind of made sense.
The reaction is really good too, and once it grabbed the liquidity, it just ran up to the moon.
But yeah, Affirm, it's bullish. Like people are looking for opportunities in the market, and literally no people on my Patreon are like doing chart requests. They're not requesting anything right now because they're down on the dumps, right? But this is the time that everybody should be interested in buying, because look at, oh my God, Affirm is right at the arc now with even more support at 39. Like this risk reward is phenomenal in my opinion. I think I actually might start to buy some of this, to be honest. Yeah.
But
yeah,
Walmart though. But Walmart, what like they don't use them anymore.
Oh, you mean Walmart? Oh, okay.
Are we gonna do a Chinese stock review in Chinese?
Only if you review the Chinese stocks. That's the only case. Oh, but look at Walmart. It's basically getting rejected.
Ooh,
right?
Snap! Oh man, yeah, this looks bad. This
is even more bullish for the rest of the market too, in my opinion. If Walmart goes down, everything else can go up too. This is a rotation happening right before our eyes. And where's the moving averages? Okay, the 50 is even right down there too. That's $79. Yeah, Walmart has a ways to fall.
Yeah, Walmart is no good. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, that's bullish though. Bullish, man. Bull. I don't know. I like doing these things too because we get different perspective, and it actually opens my eyes to new things and makes me have stronger conviction, really. And I know a lot of people waver in and out of being bullish and being bearish, but I mean, when you look at all these high time frame charts, they're all telling a story, I think. And the ones that should be going down, like Walmart, they're good, bullish for the rest of the market.
Yeah, it looks absolutely vicious. Like it wants to touch the cloud, which I think it probably will.
Well, let's look at the monthly right here. Yeah, there's my arc.
Ooh, yeah. It looks like it wants to go down a lot further.
Yeah, I think it's going to retest the arc. It's broke out. Just like Doge touched the arc, I think it's going to go back test the arc here at $77. And then it's probably going to do this. It's probably going to do something like, and then January of 2027, it's going to go higher again.
Oh my goodness. Oh man. Well, you need that to correct the big giant move that I just had. I mean, it's Wow. Brutal.
Well, there you have it. Don't buy Walmart, guys. But I don't know. But look at this. The conversion line has a chance to hold.
It's true. Yeah.
It could.
You also have like you also have like a evening star look to it though, like green, doji, and red. That's, I don't know. You can go back and back test the 3.618 there and get rejected. Yeah, I can see that too.
It'll go back up to 93, 95 and go back down. That's what it's going to do.
Yeah. Yikes.
Do you think the SPY will visit 500? Well, we talked about the SPY in the very beginning, and I think 591 really has a good chance of holding.
561, you mean?
It's not 561. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we're way far away from 591.
No. Hear me out, guys. Here's my logic behind that.
Are you from the past or?
Yes. I don't know. Yeah, because of this monthly conversion line, and it's because of that Fibonacci.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there, the 1.618 from the previous cycle high to the low. It's the 1.618, and it's the conversion line. So I think we're looking at a good chance of support holding here for the SPY.
For the 2022 bear market, the February candle had really convincingly, the February 2022 candle really convincingly closed below the conversion line. And we spent March of 2022 trying to break back above, but we just weren't able to hold that area. So yeah, it's a pretty important zone to hold. But yeah, just like every single important backtest is a very important backtest, right? But we will see. We will see. It's been a pretty brutal downtrend. Do you suspect that it will have to touch the weekly cloud here on the SPY?
I think it might, but that could just go sideways until then.
Yeah.
Right. It could just do something like recover nicely, maybe go back up to the baseline conversion line up here, 580, get rejected again, then maybe come back down in the weeks or months to come.
Yeah.
Do something like that.
It also shows you that there's a pretty strong support down here with pretty thick weekly Ichimoku cloud there too before it gets down to 500. So, and also see this morphology actually look kind of similar to October 2023, where it kind of teased, kind of like how I teased my neighbor with pet tie. It looks like it's kind of like a little bit of a tease there. It didn't really quite touch the cloud, and
then it just launched. That was like the launch mode that it required. Yeah, and it actually closed below all those levels too. The 50 week, the 100 week, and the 50% level back there. Like, come on now. That's just like asking for people to be scared.
Yeah, no, things look dire like Tesla back then. Like that was pretty dire. I remember experiencing that, and I thought that September was probably going to be like the bottom. I didn't think that the SPY was going to go down below 420, and it went all the way down to like where's like 40, 408, 409. I was like, crap, yeah, but ultimately, I think that was just a liquidity grab, and it just went up a lot higher from there. So,
and that's what this feels like too. Almost a very similar moment.
Yeah, that's what this feels like to me. But
and actually, look at the same thing happened too. The cross, or like right when they're at the same price too, the conversion and the baseline, and that's exactly what they're at now. Is this called an inverse katana? Like what is that called?
Well, I mean, it's basically saying that you had the same thing like the Tekken Kitchen touch back in like October 2023 as well, But yeah, I guess it's a katana. It basically just tells you there's a lot of volatility, right, that happened over the last 9 months that engulfed the entire last 26 months, right? That's what it really basically means, right? So if the volatility is to the upside, if in most things generally trend to the upside, so the katana generally just say that there's a lot of huge volatility that happened that probably going to allow you to have some further bullish continuation. But if you see a katana to the downside, it could just be a correction, for the last few weeks that had engulfed the entire last 26 weeks, which is what's happening right now. So most of corrections are just corrections. I think over the last, somebody posted over the last 12 times ever, S&P 500 drops below 10%, but 10 of those are just like normal corrections. Only twice do you have a big crash, So anyway.
Well, what do you think the chances are of a rally in the end of the month?
I think you have to take into consideration, probabilistically speaking, and this is going beyond just looking at lines and sticks and curves. You got a few things here. One is global liquidity still seem to be rising, right? The second thing is we already started the show talking about the U.S. dollar. It's talking about the Japanese market look like it's holding some pretty decent support. China's pumping. Eventually you're gonna have whenever Chinese market hit resistance, which I think is going to happen soon. You're going to have some money being rotated elsewhere, right? Which is going to be Bitcoin, which is also going to flood over to the U.S. market. On top of all that, right now the scary narrative right now is tariffs, which is all speculative. In terms of the effect it has on the economy, it's all still speculative. We're not even sure we're going to hold tariffs or not. He's just talking about it, and he's doing these things. He's taking away them. It's all negotiation tactics, right? But what the real things he can do are like tax cuts. The real things he can do are like maybe really seriously giving like stimulus checks back to the people, pressure Powell to lower rates. There are a lot of things that he can do, right?
Yeah, the if he really did no taxes on 150,000 per household, like that would stimulate the economy so damn much.
Yeah, it would.
That'd be insane extra cash, like just flooding into markets, and like I think that is far more bullish than any kind of other like stimulus or whatever. That would be huge.
Yeah, and if he's able to like that's what they're saying with Doge, right? Like they're trying to cut spending, and I don't know. Like I think initially you're gonna have like a negative effect, which I think is probably doing that right now. Is you are cutting a lot of government jobs, and I don't know why we're talking about fundamentals, but I can talk about it. Like we're cutting a lot of government jobs, and you're gonna have initial effects because the government hire a lot of people, you know, and it's true that maybe not all of them is gonna like serve in terms of best interest, in terms of allocating resources, things like that. I'm sure like a lot of people hold very important jobs, but there's only like a finite amount of money that should be spent on the government, and they're trying to tease it out. So they, you know, like I'm sure initially to cut spending, you're gonna end up having a little bit of detriment in terms of, you know, in terms of markets. But ultimately, if the money ends up being saved and you end up just like giving us like stimulus checks and things like that, kind of like what happened last time. And with the recession talk, with the you know, with the GDP number not looking great, with you know, with inflation numbers dropping, you know, I think there's a lot of room to stimulate here. So
I concur.
Yeah.
Well, so what you're saying is there's a 90% chance of an end of March rally. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Well, it depends on what that secret guy, that little birdie that we talked to on our private chat, whether or not he's right or not, right? I mean, we have the date set and it's already in that range. So
no, yeah, that is true. It's gonna happen. If it doesn't happen, then
we're gonna hold him to it anyway.
Yeah.
No, but I think if you had to give me a probability based on like US dollar, based on rates, based on inflation numbers, based on the fact that Bitcoin is still in a high low type situation, holding the conversion, based on the Japanese market, maybe finding some pretty good support, based on the Chinese market doing really well right now. And I have a hard time seeing like a 2022 type crash. But I could be wrong. So
yeah. I just I think not enough things rallied to be over right now, and things just started to begin to rally to really be finished too. So, like, how can Robinhood stop before it goes to all-time highs? How can SoFi stop before it goes to all-time highs? How can any of those stop? It just doesn't make any sense to me, you know.
Yeah, and they're challenging. They're basically getting rejected where you're expecting to get rejected at. You know, like right, Robinhood getting rejected at 0.86, completely expected. There's like no question. And then SoFi got close to 0.786, got rejected. It's like understandable. Shopify hasn't backtested its monthly Ichimoku and is doing that. You know, like it's just a lot of things are just still looking pretty normal, with the exception of like this is Shopify right here. I was eyeing this like big giant breakout of the cloud. I was like, you know, it looks like pretty strong strength there, but I don't think it's gonna break above the 0.76. But sure enough, it didn't come back test the conversion, back test the cloud. That's exactly what it's doing. And this is a pretty like, you know, high leverage, like a Cavi Wood type stock, you know, is looking very, very bullish, right? So how can I be that bearish on the market overall, right? It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Again, like Robinhood, same thing, got rejected at 0.86, just come back test the conversion base here on a monthly, completely expected. And same thing with SoFi. It's basically just you know, get close to 0.786, come back down, test the bottom.
And Coinbase too, Coinbase, same situation.
Yeah, so I mean, they're basically just doing what they're supposed to, and with these like high beta stocks doing that, I have a hard time seeing the overall market not rallying eventually. And I think the sentiment is very, 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 very low point right into the Powell speech tomorrow, which we'll see. I don't know what that means really, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, 我觉得我可以说完这个 show 来讲一讲那个中国的那个股市，你觉得怎么样？我觉得恒生指数我觉得不错，我觉得它就超越那个0.618，可是我觉得0.618可能应该不会过吧？我觉得这可能是就是一条 wick 一条线吧，我不觉得会真的这个蜡烛真的会在这个月真的会在这儿停止。可是我觉得它应该有足够的能量去0.786，如果能到0.786，应该很难再继续过去。如果它可以继续过去的话，我觉得有可能会 make some all-time highs 。
太高了。
I sound terrible because I sound like those like American Chinese, like you just throw some English here and there.
你说的普通话太好了。
我说的普通话太 good 了 ，Yeah, that's
太 good 了 ，Yeah， 特别好哦。
你觉得中国股市怎么样？
I don't have an opinion.
You don't have an opinion.
没有意义. No, I think everything's good. Yeah, everything in
Yeah.
China is 太好了. I think a lot of things are at resistance, like you were saying, the 618. Yeah. If it does break above it, it's going to go higher, but I think it could get rejected first. So, but no, yeah, the China story, it's real. It's happening. Just don't buy at resistance.
Yeah. Which China story that China's going anyway? Yeah. Anyway.
那个中国故事啊，太美了。
Yeah, it looks great. Like even FUTU, I think it might follow suit of TIGR. Although I can't advise people to. I don't advise anyway. But I can't advise
look
people
at
to buy resistance.
Yan Lao said 牛逼。
什么？
No, in the comments 牛逼。
牛逼！你还能读中文啊？你没有用一个 translator 去看是吧？
Yeah, I studied. I sent messages. I text all the time in China. So yeah.
Yeah. This guy. Yeah, maybe we should do like the next Canada match show is all Chinese.
Yeah, but I'm 太害羞啊。
Oh man, my Shanghainese ears hurts. All right. Well, with that note, I think we cover all bases. I even talked about Will Chamberlain a few times. I think we're good.
Yeah, I think Will Chamberlain should be proud of you.
Oh man, he's looking up from the sky, looking down. Wait, no, he's looking down from the sky. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Looking up.
He's looking up from the sky.
He went straight down there to hell.
He's going for a 30,000 number up above.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
Heck yeah.
No, fun show as always. It's been a tough time for a lot of folks. You know, I think this is one of those things that there's a lot of learning opportunities both for you and me too. I think you never know what the market maker is going to do. You know, we can only point up one level at a time, but we suffer. Everybody suffers. You know, I think even traders are trying to trade in and out of this range. Like they're getting brutalized right now. So, we're all trying to figure out our own, risk tolerance. I think it's your first time really doing all this, like, finance, publicly speaking about it, and also sharing charts and sharing your ideas, and it could help, influence other people's financial decision making. Is a pretty new gig. It's pretty rough, at times.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot of people, they don't have a longer term vision like we have sometimes. Yeah. It's more like, well, it hasn't moved in 4 months. This is trash. It's not doing anything. Where I see it as like, well, it hasn't moved in 4 months. I mean,
that's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Like Bitcoin hasn't moved for like 7 months, but it's hanging around the it's hanging around the conversion is hanging around the arc over here. That's a great buying opportunity. You know, sure enough.
It's all about perspective, and if you do have the time, I think people can make a lot more money in the markets if you just have more time. If you just allow the markets time to do what they're supposed to do, instead of trying to time it short term, because trying to time it short term, especially stocks like Tesla, people get burned, because I don't know anybody really that has made money on Tesla if they do it short term. I don't know. I don't know anybody, because it's hard. It's a very volatile stock. But if you trade it in cycles, then you can actually do very, very well.
That is true. And I think we're mostly looking at cycles. We're trying to trade like the big move. We're not trying to trade in and out, because even if Tesla is the beginning of a bull market, which I still think it is, the beginning of bull market actually can be extremely volatile, like kind of how COVID was the beginning of that, Tesla bull market, and it was extremely volatile. So it's not completely unexpected, to have something crazy like this. It's just, it's worse than COVID. It touched the cloud, like it's worse than COVID, and the economy is not worse than COVID. So I don't know, what else to. I don't know how else to reconcile. Yeah,
exactly. Vivian, 你很漂亮. Oh, yeah, that's all I need. That's all I need to say. That's all I say, and I wink. 你很漂亮，美女.
Yeah, I can totally see you doing that. It's not doing anything for me. I'm sorry. Yeah.
帅哥，你好帅啊.
No, but yeah, Vivian actually knows, like she knows some really expert
strategies. Take off your clothes.
衣服脱掉. Yeah, she's actually got like some really expert strategies on trying to maximize like the Will Chamberlain strategy.
By
anyway.
衣服脱掉.
Yeah, can you imagine Will Chamberlain speaks Chinese? That'd be like an impeccable combination.
I mean, he's been with probably quite a few Chinese people, I'm sure, out of that 20,000. So
yeah, women specifically. He said women. So
women, not just people. Yeah.
Not just people. Yeah. Right.
Well, on that note,
that's a good cue to end the show.
Yeah, there we are. Yes. So 你很漂亮，衣服脱掉. Yes, we are good to go.
你怎么知道我在穿衣服？
我猜。
All right, we're gonna say we're gonna end the show. Let's just say
yeah. All right.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right. You too, guys. Bye.
Yep. Bye.